night, the Grade 1 $200,000 refrigerator coming up. And, Rodney, that's a race that has double the highest purse it's ever had. It's a Grade 1. It's got a great field. We'll devote some time to that ninth and feature race coming up. But it's going to be a real good one. I can't recall a race in my 5 seasons here, and I've seen some good races here that I've anticipated quite as much as this.
Yeah, this one's definitely exciting to see this refrigerator tonight. A lot of good horses in it.
Yeah.
That purse increase must have, brung them out of the woodwork or whatever they say. So, it's going to be a fun one. That's race number 9. We got to start talking about race number 1 before we get to that one. So,
and after you do your picks, we've got video right out of the chute here in the first race. We haven't done that yet. First race, maiden claiming Texas breds, 2-year-olds. Track condition listed as good at the start. It's very misty. It's very damp. And about 60 degrees or so as we get started before the big winter comes later tonight or tomorrow, whenever it comes.
Yeah, so race number 1, I've got number 4 and 3J Sugar Booger as my top choice here. I was kind of surprised to look back through Rick Lee's picks and saw that he'd picked this horse on top, too. The reason I liked it was, a first-time starter in this field, I think has a chance with some of these horses. If you take a look at the trainer, Toby Keaton, he had one that won right out of the gate last night that was impressive. They stopped me on the way back and said, hey, how come you didn't pick my horse? So I'm going to go ahead and pick this horse, 3J Sugar Booger, here in the first for this firster. My second selection is going to be your number 3, and she's Serendipity. This horse has had a start over our track out here. That came back at the beginning of September. Finished 7th in that race. That was a straight maiden race, so now it's in here for the $5,000 tag. I think that class relief should help out a little bit. The 2 races before her debut at Lone Star were pretty decent. A second and a third in those 2 races. So we'll see if she's Serendipity can't come and hit the board tonight. And then I'll take the horse on the outside. That's the 10, Big Time Chicky, as my third selection. Anytime you see Jose Vega on one of these horses, you got to take a strong look at it. He seems to hop on some of these horses that have a pretty good success rate. I think this is one that can make something happen right here. A third in that last race that was out here over our track. A couple races before that, it's hit the board once, and that was in that most recent race. Has never run this short, so we'll see. It seems like this horse maybe will do better when the race is shorter. So, I don't know, kind of a question mark for me. I know Big Time Chicky is your top choice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and not much money in the pool yet, but they're betting him off the board. My night might be indicated by this first race. I really like Big Time Chicky in here. I think he has it all over his rivals. We'll see if it works out that way. I didn't have a very good night last night, to be quite honest. I had a whole bunch of second picks actually win, so I wasn't making a lot of key decisions. But let's swing over and take a look at the video machine here. September 6th, we're going to watch Big Time Chicky, who is the 4 on this night, the Yellow Silks. Gets out and competes really well here at 5-1 against a much better field of maidens. By the way, the 1 horse in this race is She's Serendipity, who didn't do a whole lot in this race. But the 4, Big Time Chicky, not only runs well, shows some early speed, but holds on reasonably well here when the first 2 just sort of go off in their own thing there. I Will Decide and Boss Bach wound up well clear of everybody else in that race. But Big Time Chicky showed speed, held on, drops. I think he's, obviously he's being well bet early. I don't think he's going to go off at 2-5, but I really like him in here. I went 10-3-4. Certainly I give the firster a big look. Toby Keaton's barn's done great this year. Statistically, if you go back in the daily racing form stats going back, his barn isn't just knocking the drawers off with first-time starters, but like you say, he did last night, and he's had a really good meet, and you got to respect her, but I couldn't put her in her higher than third, but we'll see how it goes. I think my night might go based on this first race. You never know.
Well, hopefully it goes well for you.
Second race, Arabians, maiden special weights, scratch the 3, RB Rich Wrath, scratch the 4, RB Ginkit, scratch the 7, Chalet.
All right, so that shortens this field quite a bit here. I've got your number 6, Golly She's Hot SV, as my top selection here. A tough race to pick maiden Arabians here at Lone Star Park. None of these horses have really shown much. There's not very many of them that have even, come into the top 3, it seems like. But The 6 does have 3 races out here at Lone Star Park. 3 of them, they all came at this 6-furlong distance. Has a couple thirds in the last 2 races, so has hit the board in 2 of those 3. I'm going to go ahead and take the 6, Golly, She's Hot, SV, as my top choice here. My second selections, I'm going to go with the 1s. Getting a pair of entries here, 2 for the price of 1. That's Royal Jolie and Nilla. Hey, in a field like this, especially with a bunch of scratches here, I'm going to go ahead and play the entries strictly on numbers is how I'm looking at it, approaching it as a handicapper in race number 2. If I'm getting 2 horses for the price of 1, I'm going to go ahead and take them. No one in this field has really shown much. I'm just going to leave it at that. Third pick, I'll go ahead and take the other pair of entries. That's the 2s as well. So with 2 picks, I'm getting 4 different horses in this race right here out of a field of 7 now, so I'm getting over half the field if I'm playing the entries in this one. So I think that could be the way to go here in race number 2.
So you're going at this race just in terms of numbers.
You're putting 8 in the box. Strictly numbers on this one. I
right.
I like the 6 Golly She's Hot SV. I think that's the winner of this race. And then the rest of them, I'm kind of rolling some dice and hoping for something to come in on the bottom of the car or
you're
bottom of the race.
Sending everybody after the punter in this one.
Might as well, right?
I like Golly She's Hot SV. I mean, she's certainly bidding for most starts at the meet. This is her 4th start at the meet, but some of her races haven't been too bad. I mean, that Sand Canyon JS that beat her last time would probably do quite well in this field. So I'm going to give her a shot. I think it's graduation time for her. The 10 Mirage AA, beaten 50 lengths last time, was even money. I can't believe that race was representative. I'm going to give her a shot to rebound. So I'm going 6, 10, 1. Third race. We've got 3 scratches here. This is a claiming race, $4,000 tag. It's an odd race. There were a whole bunch of maidens in this race initially. 2 of them got scratched, but scratched the 6 Quick Bowie, scratched the 7 Black Lipstick, and scratched who would have been the overwhelming favorite, the 8 Royal Renegade, who was making an absolutely monumental class drop from a non-winners of 4 allowance down to this spot. But now we won't have to worry about him because he's out.
Yeah, so, that was my top choice was the 8 Royal Renegade. So I'm scratching into the 5 POTUS B, who I think was the second best horse in this race. But, hey, we're going to run it anyway just to see how it turns out. This horse has run this 350-yard distance a total of 7 times. Has a couple wins, a second and a third. One of those thirds just came 2 starts back. That was at Remington Park back in May. Finished third just by a half a length there. Has had 1 start since that layoff that came at the end of July. So maybe POTUS B, I feel like, is going to be ready to run here tonight. So I do have that horse on top. My second selection is going to go ahead and be the number 4, Make It Fancy. This is another one that's tried this 350-yard distance. Has a third out of 2 starts. Has some experience on the Lone Star Park track. Hasn't hit the board, but at least has set foot on the track and has run a couple times out here. So I do have the number 4, Make It Fancy, as my second choice. And then by the time we get to race number 3, I've got to make another pick since I had a scratch out of this one.
Okay. Well, it's down to a field of 6, so you won't have a lot of choices, but you also won't have a lot of real attractive accomplishments to go for. So, I have the same top 2 picks. Kind of tepid selections here. The thing that I think works in POTUS B's favor is he's got a string of races back at Remington against open claimers like this one. Most of these are coming out of either maiden races or non-winners of 2 type claimers. Make It Fancy, my second pick. I went with First Flowin' as the third pick, but not a lot to endorse behind the top couple picks in that one. Let's move on to the 4th. Maiden claiming 2-year-olds here. $20,000 is the claiming price here, and they're going $330.
Yeah, I went with, the number 1, Victorious. I think this horse wins the race here. 2 races so far in his career. One of them came back in May at Remington Park. The most recent one was at the end of August at Delta Downs. I love those horses that come in here from Delta Downs. It seems like I'm always picking those horses. Finished 7th in that race, but, it was only a length off the winner of that one. The horse that won it went out to win its next start as well. I think there's always something to be said for that. is in here tonight for the tag for the first time. I mean, granted, it's a $20,000 tag, so pretty expensive for some of these horses out here. But I do think that Victorious goes ahead and picks up the win here in race number 4. My second choice, I'm going to go with Grand Beauvais. This is a horse that's had a start out here at Lone Star this year. That was in a trial for the Dash for Cash Futurity. Didn't have it that night. Finished well beaten in that one. But if you take a look at the debut for this horse back in July at Retama Park, that was at this 330-yard distance. Ran a solid second in that one. So I'm going to go ahead and take the 5 as my second choice. And then I'll have the 8 as my third selection. That's Blonde Belle Cartel. 2 starts for this horse, both of them coming out in New Mexico in some trial races out there. So was facing some pretty good horses in that one, in those 2 races. Had some trouble in both of them. So maybe tonight this horse gets out of the gate, stays clear of all that trouble. And I think this one could fire tonight. That's number 8, Blonde Belle Cartel.
There were a couple of particular winners last night that if you subscribe to the theory that if a horse had trouble last time, maybe he won't have trouble today. Well, you were rewarded with that last night. I think you picked one, Rick picked another. I didn't. I tend to shy away from habitual trouble horses. But, boy, last night there were a couple of winners that had had trouble last night, or in previous races, but last night they just whistled not a straw in their path the whole way. And Blonde Belle Cartel is one of those. Another one is Jedi Heart, the 7, who's my third pick. Gets off Lasix first time with Alonzo Neri. Some things to like there, but just absolutely has not performed on the racetrack in any respect. We'll see if she improves. But I went with the same top 2. Victorious, couple breeding notes. Victorious is a half to a 2-year-old named Jets, who was 3rd in the Ruidoso Futurity, 4th in the All-American. Last time I thought Victorious just kind of went evenly, was herded in. Not a bad effort. Grand Beauvais, comes out of a Dash for Cash Futurity trial, a really good one with PYC Painted Streaker. One other breeding note, I think it's fascinating that the 9 Tricks on You is by the thoroughbred favorite Trick. He passed away in 2006, so the artificial insemination has really, the freezer's been working for a long time, apparently, because favorite Trick won his first 9 starts back in 97 and 98. He was undefeated horse of the year in 97, so to see him pop up as the sire on a pedigree, he's a thoroughbred, of course.
That's pretty interesting. I never would have caught that, so thanks for pointing that one out.
Well, I had to look it up to remember exactly what his era was, because I knew he was in the sport when I was in it before my 17-year foray into conventional sportscasting, but 97, 98. Tricks on You, thoroughbred, stallion favorite, Trick the champion. On to the 5th. There's minimal 550-yard experience in here. These are non-winners of 2 for $10,000, going 550.
Yeah, that 550 is always a tough one out here, running basically the full length of the straightaway. I've got the number 7, Captain Key, as my top choice here. Hasn't tried this 550 before, but, has a decent record, at shorter races. I mean, has won at 440. That came at the beginning of August at Retama Park. Has a second and a third since then. One of them at 440, the most recent at 400 yards. The horse has a pretty decent record out here at Lone Star Park. Hasn't picked up a win out here, but in 5 tries, has 2 seconds and a third. The horse has been rolling in 2020. I mean, has hit the board in 50% of his starts. So I think there's a whole lot to like about Captain Key. That's why he's my top choice. Second pick is going to be the 5 horse in Seb Ember. This is a horse that's put together 2 consecutive seconds. Those came at the 870-yard distance up at Prairie Meadows. I think if the horse can run second at 870 and then now is going to come down here and not have to worry about the turn and just run straight for the first time, I think he's got some endurance, going to have some energy for the distance, and I think that number 5, Seb Ember, could be one to watch here. And then for my third selection, I went with the number 4 in Waddle. This is a horse that's also been out here at Lone Star Park, running quite a bit. Has already run 3 times out here this year. Most recently was in a 550-yard race. Ran 4th in that one. Put together a good effort in that one. He was in for the 5,000 non-winners, a 2 tag that night. So is doubling that tag tonight to the $10,000 mark. Bobby Lee Dow gets the mount tonight. He picked up a win last night and was giving me a hard time why I didn't pick him. So I'll go ahead and throw him in my top 3. That's number 4 in Waddle.
Well, I believe he won the 6.8 second.
Yeah, it was the
race.
quick one.
So come on, I mean, that's a tough one to bail out of. I mean, I picked the third place finisher and considered it a victory. I went with Seb Ember in here. I like the turn back angle, and she really ran a nice race last time. Prairie Meadows horses, they haven't necessarily come down here and fired, but I think the racing is pretty good up there, and Charlton Hunt wins a lot of races, the trainer, and this horse was 7.5 lengths clear of the third place finisher, and that's usually a good indicator of a horse that ran well and is going to come back and run well again. So she had a good meet at Prairie. I'm taking her on top of Captain Key, who went fairly evenly last time at 400 yards. Might really like this longer distance. And I went with Waddle as a third pick, third straight week that he's run. But the other two races were quite good. He just ran into fields that were a little bit better than he could handle, and he's drawn in the right part of the track. On to the sixth. Six shooter begins with the sixth race. The carryover in the six shooter is $4,364. I failed to mention that we have a pretty good super high five carryover heading into the very first race. That's up on the screen right now, $25,088 heading into the first in the super high five. But on to the sixth. 4,300 plus in the carryover. Lots of contention in this race. Scratch the 6 TR Dasher Superstar.
I went with the number 2 in Steve's Classy Jess. I think this is going to be a solid spot for this horse right here. Last time out, ran this 550-yard distance, basically the same race, starter optional claiming. Won that race by half a length. Looked good doing it, too. If you look 3 starts back, this horse picked up another win at this 550-yard distance, was in for the $15,000 winners of 3 in that one. So 2 out of the last 3 races, this horse has won. Both those wins coming at this 550-yard distance. You got to like that, including that last win, which came out here at Lone Star Park. Rolando Almanza, Ricardo Garza Cruz, those guys win at a high percentage, it seems like. They stick out in my mind, so I'm taking Steve's Classy Jess as my top choice. Second pick, I'm going with the number 8 and Fight to La Jolla. This horse tried to run in a stakes race last time at Prairie Meadows. That was one of those 870-yard races. You see this horse has run at 870 quite a bit this year. This horse has had, 8 starts this year, and only one of them has not been at this 870-yard distance. But like I was talking about in that last long straight race, I figure horses that don't have to navigate that turn anymore and have some stamina and have been able to stay up there at that distance might be able to get things done. If you take a look back to the last time that this horse ran at 550 yards, was in a stakes race at Remington Park earlier this year. Ran into some tough horses in that race. Shockingly Famous, Rock About It, Hot Damn Bama Lamb, who you're going to see later. Viva La Dawn was in that race as well. So that stakes race was a very tough one. The horse finished 9 out of 12 that day, but was definitely in there with some solid horses. So I think Fight to La Jolla can have a pretty good showing here today at this 550-yard distance. Then I went with the horse that's on the rail. It's Crunch Time as my third choice. This horse has put together back-to-back wins spanning 2 calendar years, 2019 and 2020. That last win came back in February at the Downs at Albuquerque at 870, so going to hit that straight away again today. I figure if the horse has been winning, I'm going to go ahead and put it in my top 3 and see if that winning streak can't continue here for its Crunch Time.
Yeah, she certainly figures in a big way. There's a lot that I could see winning. The 7-2 choice on the morning line here, Just Paint Me Quick, didn't even find his way into my selections to show you about that. But I went with the 9 Corona Senator. This horse has proven that he can run well fresh. His trainer, Salim Hernandez, I don't know if he's ridden or if he's started a horse in my 5 years here, but he's a 22% trainer this year, 17 for 79. This horse has been doing well in fairly nice open claiming company and absolutely loves the 550 distance. And I grabbed my phone because he hadn't worked since August 24th, and he has a race since June 28th, so he needed a work, and he got one up in Oklahoma at the Silver Star Equine Center on October 23rd, 2:20 and 13.14 seconds, breezing. I'm going to take a shot with him, hopefully at a little bit of a price over its Crunch Time, who just fires good efforts every time. I took Steve's Classy Jess as a third pick in here, but certainly respect Flight to La Jolla as well. Let's move on here so that we allow ourselves time for the later races here. the 7th race, start of the pick 5, and the pick 5's been hard to narrow down lately. The carryover tonight, $7,539.
I went with the number 5 in Nicola. 2 starts back, this horse put together a solid third at Retama Park at this 350-yard distance. That was at the non-winners of 2 against allowance horses. I mean, is in here tonight for the $10,000 tag. I think that Nicola, the 5, can run a good race here and come in on top over my second choice, 3 Amsterdam Surprise. This was a winner last time out. Was in for a tag that day for $15,000. Hey, is going to face winners for the first time here, I think, for $10,000. So that was a 300-yard race. They're going to add, 50 yards on today. This horse has run 350 yards before. That was in the debut. This horse has had some trouble in the 2 races that he didn't win, or that she didn't win, but I think Amsterdam Surprise could get up there tonight and finish on the board in race number 7. I went with the outside horse, the 10, as my third selection. Has only run 1 race for Angel Sanchez. 1 race total for the Magic Ocean. That was at this distance. That was at our track. That was a winner by a length and 3/4. So putting a check mark by that one for my top 3.
I really wanted to use her. I mean, I showed video of her race when another one, Boomer Zoomer, ran a week or 2 ago. I loved her first race. I just don't know about the quality of the field, so I couldn't include her in the picks, but it wouldn't surprise me to see her run well. I'm on Nicola as well. Hits a much better distance, much better level. That was a pretty good try last time out against El Chocolatito in a non-winners of A other than allowance. Race before that was a pretty good effort as well. So I'm going to go with Nicola in this race over the 1 Echoes of Thunder, who comes out of a pretty nice Ruidoso maiden win. It's hard to tell with these horses coming out of nice maiden wins, and there's several of them in here. There's a bunch of horses. It looks like 6 at quick glance coming out of maiden wins in their last efforts. And then Amsterdam Surprise, the Blaine Wood-Ricky Ramirez combo is my 3rd pick. On to the 8th. Texas bred optional claimers here, 300 yards the distance. Scratch, number 6, 3XO.
I've got number 5, Crawfish Cartel. I think this is the horse to beat right here in race number 8. Another one is trained by Toby Keaton. I think this horse can get out of the gates very well. Seems to show some speed when coming out of the gates. Last time out, had a race out here over our surface. Ran second in that race. That was an allowance race. That was at the 330-yard distance. They're going to cut a little off tonight, where the horse won at this distance 2 starts back. The only time that that he has tried the 300 yards. So I do like Crawfish Cartel. I went with the number 9, Finito Dash. I probably would have liked this horse a little bit better if he would have drawn further inside. So something about the 9 hole this year I don't like. 9 and 10 just haven't been winning for me, although 11 and 12s I've seen those win. But could just be one of those psychological things here. Just the ones I bet on out there seem to lose. But I do like Finito Dash. I mean, this is a solid horse. Has a win out on our surface. Is perfect in the money in his 3 starts out here at Lone Star Park. So I'm going to have that horse as my second choice. And I went with the 4 in a Texas Cartel as my third selection. I mean, this horse has put together back-to-back wins. Both of those coming in August at Retama Park. One of them came at this 300-yard distance. So we're going to go ahead and give a Texas Cartel a chance, even though this is a big claiming price, it looks like, for this horse.
I also think the 3A Political Jazz has a huge shot in here. I love horses that close a lot of ground last time, and this horse did after having trouble. But that being stated, I went with Finito Dash, and now that I look back on it, I mean, he and Crawfish Cartel to me are kind of a coin flip. It's getting late in the year, but in some cases, I still kind of prefer a 4-year-old going against a 3-year-old. I don't know why. Crawfish Cartel, though, does draw a much better post position the way the track's been playing. It's got a little moisture in it tonight, so we'll see if it continues to play with sort of where the middle post positions seem to do better. But Finito Dash comes out of a better race. It was a non-winners of 4. It was an open company race. And the speed index number for Crawfish Cartel was a little better last time, but it was a state-bred race. It was a non-winners of 3. Neither one of them really held particularly well in their last race, but they both shortened up. I went in a close call with the 9 over the 5, but Apolitical Jazz is the one that I'm kind of curious to see because Alonso Neri really heated up last night, and that horse could be a big factor. Now, we got some video here. We're up to the refrigerator. We're going to watch A bit of a long shot here. Stone Cold Leader. He is the 7 horse in this race. It's an allowance race from back in September. The 7 here, Stone Cold Leader, the classy Indiana bred. He doesn't get out necessarily in the best fashion. He's got a target to run at. You might also notice a rider was unseated at the start there. But Stone Cold Leader just rallies super hard toward the outside here. Gets up by a head over a really nice horse in Financial Top. And Stone Cold Leader showed a lot of determination to get up on the outside there. And can he beat a field of this level? Remains to be seen, but he's won half of his 26 career starts, earned over $500,000. But there's 2 in particular marquee horses in this refrigerator. And I Suggest Jumpin', who's your eye is drawn to because of that incredible winning streak. And Dexter, who in my mind is the best horse going right now. So without any further ado, we both have Dexter.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, I mean, this horse has won 3 Grade 1s, this year. So
yeah.
Is running in a Grade 1 here. Dexter seems like he's rolling. I mean, is 2 for 2 at this quarter-mile distance. Both of those coming in the last couple races. Like I said, were Grade 1s, won in both of them. I think there's a lot to like about Dexter. I mean, James Flores is the jockey that's listed. It's always nice to see him.
He had to sit through a quarantine just to
come in and ride.
Yeah.
So it's always nice to see him back at Lone Star Park. He could definitely ride some winning horses. I think that Dexter is going to get the job done tonight, but it's going to be tough. I mean, I don't want to see the 12. Eyes Just Jump in my second choice. I mean, this horse has won, 11 in a row?
Yeah.
Picks up a win tonight.
15 of 18 lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, picks up a win tonight, and this horse becomes a millionaire.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah,
a win makes her a millionaire.
Yeah, this is a great field right here. I mean, you also got to talk about some horses: Valiant Tiberius, Viva La Dawn, Hot Damn Bamalam, who won the refrigerator last year. I mean, where are you going to go? My third pick, I settled on the 11, Kleptomaniac. I think Kleptomaniac can come in here and steal this one. I just wanted to say that for Kleptomaniac, But, no, Ricky Ramirez riding this horse. I mean, he's no stranger to our winner's circle. He's won some huge races out here. I mean, this horse was in the All-American Derby last time out. Qualified for the Ruidoso Derby earlier this year. I mean, has had some success at this quarter-mile distance out of 4 starts. Has 2 wins and a second out of it. I don't know. I think this is definitely a horse that you could watch here. And the morning line of 20-1 on Kleptomaniac. I mean, maybe if, something happens in these races, we don't run them just because we think we know who's going to win.
Exactly.
There's always a chance for an upset. And, I think if you play the ticket right and you just happen to get one of those upsets, even though I feel like these horses are strong, then it's going to be a big payday here in the Refrigerator Stakes, not only for the winning owner of the horse for this big purse, but for the bettor out there too.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's opportunities underneath the top 2 on paper here, and that's not giving probably full credit to Valiant Tiberius, who's a multiple stakes winner as well, but there's value in some of these longer shots that could definitely get into the picture. I went with Dexter as well. I mean, since Monte Rosa started training him this year, he's 3 for 3, all Grade 1s. He's very hard to beat to the lead. So is I Suggest Jumpin'. I mean, they're not going to probably be aware of each other because one's in the 4-hole, one's in the 12-hole. But it's going to be an interesting contest to see who gets in front of who. Dexter doesn't let anybody get by him. So the only way I think he's going to lose is if I Suggest Jumpin' is just flat out faster, which she might be. She's less tested. Most of her wins have come against her own age group or Louisiana breds, but she has won 2 open company races, one of them right here, the Dash for Cash Derby last year. But Dexter's going to be competing with the Jordan Eagles and the Midday Newses and the Stone Cold Leaders, the horses that he can sense and see. He's not going to see I Suggest Jumpin' out there. So that could hurt him, but he's drawn in a better part of the track. Nobody in the country, I don't think, is going better than Dexter. He was flattered by the horse that he beat in the All-American Gold Cup. Danger coming out yesterday at Albuquerque and winning the Grade 1 Bank of America Challenge Championship. So I'm going with Dexter over I Suggest Jumpin'. Full credit to her. If she comes and beats this field, they got to give her some kind of an award. I don't know if she can get one this year. She's only had 1 start. But so I'm going 4, 12, 1, and then Stone Cold Leader, who we showed the video of, will be my 4th pick. Let's move on to the 10th. I kind of see this as maybe a 2-filly race. Let's do a video here involving Striking Perfection, who I didn't pick on top. Always worries me when I show video and don't pick them. But watch the 3-horse here, Striking Perfection. Just a good effort. No particular trouble. This was her last start, October 11th. A really competitive second behind Hit or Miss Kiss, right up in the mix early on. Hit or Miss Kiss will end up getting by her from the outside. But Striking Perfection ran a really nice race in this one. And I made a note of that at the time that, when she comes back, keep an eye on her. But I just think Southern Queen, the 10, comes out of the Altoona Derby. I keep going to the well with these prairie horses. One of these days, one of them is going to win. But Southern Queen is quite remarkable. So I went with her over Striking Perfection with first and forever third.
Yeah, we're both on Southern Queen. I mean, the Altoona Derby was solid for this horse. Won another stakes race back at Prairie Meadows earlier in the year. Jason Olmstead, he's got some solid horses, so he's going to start getting on a win streak out here, I believe, shipping all these horses or having all these horses stabled out here. I guess they're stabled out here, I would assume.
I would think
but,
so.
yeah, he's gonna. I have a feeling he's going to get on a run here before the end of the meet. Might start right now with number 10 and Southern Queen. I took PYC Lovestruck as my second choice. This is a horse that's had some success out here at Lone Star, has a win in a third and 2 tries. One of those wins coming at the 250-yard distance. It's something to like about that horse. I mean, I think that PYC Lovestruck could get up there and finish in the mix here in race 10. And I took the 6 and Mia Favorita as my third selection here. This horse ran in the Neville Stakes, is running the Miss Ratama Stakes. Never really much to show for it. Picked up an allowance win 2 starts back at Ratama at this 250-yard distance. So we'll see if the 6 can't figure in here.
One thing important to point out about her, Mia Favorita, the 6, is she went to the gate last week in the Yellow Rose of Texas, broke through the gate while they were loading and ran off. And then the very next day they entered her in this race. So obviously the trainer feels she was ready to go, and that was a fluky situation with getting fractious and breaking open the gate. But that's the situation with Mia Favorita, and she might find this short 250-yard distance to her liking. I still didn't slide her into the picks. I went 10, 2, 5, 9. Also note the 7 Cartel Rockin' is a scratch out of the 10th. 11th and final, Maidens, 440 yards, which is a new distance for most of these. And I wrote layoffs galore on this race because there are a bunch of horses that have not been seen in regular races in a really long time.
Yeah, I went with number 4 in this one. This is a horse that has had some 2020 starts, 4 of them to be exact, and has had a fairly decent year. I mean, 4 starts, like I said, as a second and 2/3. Most recently, you see those 2/3 in the second and the last 3 races. Has never tried this 440 yards, but this horse seems to gain toward the end of those races. Seems to make up some ground and get closer. So maybe this stretch out is going to be one Gold Eagle V really likes here. So I'm taking the 4 on top. Second choice is going to be your 6 in Brad's Spirit. This horse has had 3 races this year. All of them coming at the 870-yard distance. So basically he's going to cut it in half and just run straight down the straightaway. Had a workout back on the 30th of September. Was a bullet workout. Was one of 3 that morning. That came at 660. It's going to be as short as this horse has ever run. Should have some stamina, should be able to handle it, no problem, I think. I'm taking the 6 as my second choice, and then I'll go with the number 2 in Moonflash Dancing as my third pick. This horse has only had 1 start. I always like that improvement from the first start to the next start. I think this could be a good spot for the number 2 Moonflash Dancing here.
I really think one Gold Eagle V is quite solid. Rick picked her, you picked her, I picked him, I should say. You picked him, Rick picked him, I picked him. We don't know about the 440-yard distance, but he is a full brother to Gold Heart Eagle V, who did win the 440-yard All-American Derby this year. That doesn't hurt to have a sibling that won a race like that at that distance. This horse has had a few chances for sure, but last year they thought they had a futurity qualifier type on their hands, ran him in a couple of big trials at Ruidoso. That didn't pan out. He wasn't competitive in a Ruidoso Derby trial this year, and he's had 3 tries in Maiden Company. You kind of wonder when is graduation day going to come, but I think it might come in this spot. I mean, it certainly looks like an attractive spot. Brazos Spirit has run 2 pretty nice races, or at least, the finish-wise, the last 2 been seconds, and like you say, turning back to a shorter distance, has shown speed going longer. You got to respect her. And then my third pick is the 11, Apolitical Johnny. Has been off since late March at Remington. I just looked at the horses that this horse faced last year. I mean, this horse ran against Kiss My What, Kiss My Lassie, Southern Wagon. Wasn't always competitive against them, but they had high hopes for him at one time. So I went 4, 6, 11, 1 in the last. All right. Well, you're going to have some interesting weather conditions to deal with in the paddock tonight in what's been a really pleasant and benign weather fall meeting.
It's true. It's bound to hit sometime. There it is.
Yeah. Good luck with that. We'll watch for Rodney's previews. And most of all, thanks for joining us. We bumped up to a 6:35 post time now. That's why we're not already underway. Thanks for looking in, and good luck.